This
You
conference
know,
will now be recorded.
so no one received any mail as well?
No,
I
no,
have
Subrat.
understood me.
Okay, it seems that they do not have mail ID of everyone. So I believe, who was asking this one? Didn't receive? Did you share
Yeah.
your mail ID with Visualpath?
Hi, this is funny. Yes, yes, I shared my mail ID. Yeah.
You have shared, huh? Okay. So whoever has not, so they are asking you drop your mail ID. So please drop those mail ID here. Okay. And Visualpath kindly consolidate it and send all the details because it is very essential. The idea is if people would not be able to practice what we learned yesterday, it will be little difficult for them to proceed for the next class. So let's do it positively, right? Whenever the class ends, let's share the resources with the team. Okay. So with this, let's start with today's class.
Subrat, this is Sandeep.
Huh.
I have one
Yeah, Sandeep.
question regarding yesterday's session.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday we were looking at the string functions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
today we did discuss on how to do a substring out of a string. And
Okay.
when I
Okay. The
write
slicing part,
code,
right? The slicing part of string. Okay. Okay. Sure.
and one more
Let's
thing.
do that.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so do we have a date data type?
Yes, we have date.
We didn't discuss on that one, right?
Yes, see, Sandeep, the thing is that Python itself as a course is very large, right? It's very huge. So if we keep covering each and everything, then we might miss out on the core stuff that we have planned. Python and SQL, if you go through your this one, it is not part of that. I'm just giving it as a refresher course so that you can get a starting point and you can get familiarized with your coding environment and Databricks. Again, apart from date string also there are object oriented programming, there are enumerations, there are a lot of stuff in Python. So my idea is we just cover few basics, and as and when we start reading Spark and we encountered a Python specific concept, we'll cover the details there. For example, when we learn data frame creation, let's say from a collection, from a list or for a tuple, we need little bit of understanding of variable arguments, right? We need some understanding of the struct type. So struct type is a Spark specific thing, forget that. But variable arguments is a Python specific thing. So maybe I will give some input about that while covering those concepts. So my idea is as and when we encounter these things while going through our Spark framework or data frame coding and all, we'll cover those details. This class is to just to give you some refresher about Python and SQL and the W3 school to link that I have shared, right? Those covers everything. If you, I mean, the basic fundamentals, whatever are there, I believe that has all the details, right? So you can cover that one. And what you're talking about date time and all, right?
Yes.
So it's basically, whenever you just from the date time class, there are multiple stuff to get the year, date, time, and all that, and that formatting. Right? So I believe we can, I mean, individually, I mean, you just spend some time, it is not that difficult to understand that concept. Because my idea is if we keep covering all these concepts in detail, no, we may lose out the stuff that the training is mainly targeted. That is the reason I'm not covering each and everything of Python.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Subrat.
Okay.
Understood. So
So,
going
but
through the
if
W3
we
schools
eventually,
would help, right?
sorry, sorry,
If I go through the W3 schools
huh,
examples, that is sufficient
yes, that is
to go
sufficient.
with.
Yeah. Because what happened is when you start exploring the Spark API, right? That coding is little different or a little different from Python. So you will be using some core Python stuffs there, right? Whichever we are covering. And when we cover the Spark APIs, we'll cover them syntax by syntax, each and everything. Right? So at that point of time, if you encounter that certain Python concept that we have not covered is needed, we'll elaborate them.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Uh, Visual Pathim, can you make me the presenter so that I can share my screen? Okay. So Sandeep, you are telling about the substring part. There is something called string slicing. Okay. So Python has this very interesting part, how to get the substring, from a given string. So let's do it in the string section where we are doing. Let me take a string called course, type it like Azure Data Engineering offered by Visualpath. So how to find a substring, finding the count of a given substring in a string, those things we covered yesterday. Now let's say I want a specific part of the string. Okay. So for example, I want starting from index, let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is the sixth index, right? From sixth index onward till the last index I want, right? So what I can do, while indexing, we have to provide a square bracket. If I want only the sixth index, I'll get. So what is that we'll get? If we get only the sixth index, we'll get D, right? Let's say you want to cover starting from D everything. So the syntax for that is you give the starting index, okay, colon, and do not mention the end index. It will take care of getting things till the last. Let's say you want starting from index 6 to, let's say, index 10. For that, how would you do is 6 to 10, right? It will give you only starting from 6th index to the 10th index, right? Let's say you are not, you want everything from the beginning till a particular index. In that case, no need to mention the start index, but just give till what index you are looking for. Let's say I'm giving 15. Right? So these are different ways of slicing the string. Now, where exactly it is useful is, for example, you know that in a particular attribute, let's say you are giving a file. In medical terminology, what happened was in insurance, right? They have something called claim in US healthcare, and every claim comes with different format, right? Be it a claim format, be it an acknowledgement format, be it a reimbursement format, and all that. So there are things that you need to parse it, and though they follow very strict formatting. When I say strict formatting, in a particular file, starting from this index, it what is a healthcare provider detail. Starting from this index to this index is what about the diagnosis detail. All those things are pretty much mentioned in the EDI document, electronics data interface document, right? So those are the cases when you are parsing a file, those kinds of slicing you can use, right? Otherwise, in a real-time environment, if you know that the particular index occur, the file has a specific format, and we know that where it occurs, those are the cases where we can use it. Or let's say you know that first three characters of a particular this we can ignore and we can consider everything, right? For example, let's say you are getting a customer code, okay, and a customer code has different format. Okay, let's say the customer belongs to USA. So certain people are giving let's say if the customer belongs to USA, they start the customer code with US and then giving a name, giving some integer to it. Let's say 98764. This is the customer code. There is another system which takes other abbreviation. They say that for the country, we have a numerical mapping for it. Let's say USA represents 101, and then remaining everything is same, 987654. So if they are two same customer, let's say this is one representation, which is representation one. This is another representation, which is representation two. And you have to do an analysis saying that are they two same customers? For that, for the first one, I need to ignore the first two index and consider everything. For the third one, I need to ignore the first three index and then consider everything, right? So doing that, so here, these kinds of slicing, apply them. I can, find a match whether these two are representing the same customer or not. This is just an example. So these are some real-time use cases of string slicing. Why the cluster is taking this much time to start?
Okay. It's clear, Subrat. Yeah.
Yeah. So were everyone able to, log into Databricks yesterday, able to create an account, do the hands-on? Are you still facing any problem in accessing this environment? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, so let the cluster begins and we will come and see the output of these program. So till yesterday, what we have covered is tuple dictionary we have covered, right? Okay. So next thing was set. So the three collections that we have covered is list, actually four: list, range, tuple, and dictionary, right? So list is a collection of elements, right? And list is mutable. I mean, we can change the content of a list, right? We can append items into a list. List can contains duplicate entries also. So if the same entries is repeated in a list, that is allowed, not a problem. Range basically helps us to define what kind of value we need. In list, we can add any random value, but in range, it has to follow a sequence, some sequence that we define, right? It has to be, let's say, between 0 to 10, and we define that that should be a gap of the two digits, right? That's how the list will appear. Tuple is basically another collection, but thing is that it is immutable. You cannot change the content of a tuple. So here we are trying to assign a different element to a tuple, but it was not allowed, right? So and dictionary is in form of key value pair. So we saw an example, right? Employee and salary. So in dictionary, how to access a particular entity is through the key. So if I want to know the salary of employee one, I have to pass it as a key, salary of employee one. That's how we'll access. So this list and all the real-time use case, or how to use them one, that we will cover once we go to the loop and conditional. So here, this is just the fundamental. Once we start covering the loop part, we'll get more details on how can we use list or dictionary in a real-time situation. So the cluster has started and we might have received the input. It shows only one. Why? Is it not showing everything?
After that, you have added those lines.
What is that?
Initially, only one print course, that 6 only you gave it. After you
Ah,
added
okay,
every
okay,
line.
okay. Okay, okay, okay. Clear? Can you see it? 6 to 10, it gives data. Starting
Yeah.
to 15, so Azure Data Engineering. 6 to till, from data to everything.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
What if I give like this?
Everything.
What does this request? Yeah, exactly. Because we're not mentioning the starting and endpoint, right? It is as good as giving the course here. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to set. Set is basically a collection where it holds distinct element. The idea of set is to hold distinct elements, right? For example, I define a set. Uh, let's say IDs. And I gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's say I start repeating values 1, 1, 2, 3, 7. So when you go and print the set, you'll get only the distinct value of it. It does not contain repeated items. Okay. Let's try and see if set is mutable or not. So let me try to access this through indexing. except object is not subscriptable. So this does not have a method or something that we can call. Is there a way we can access any element of a set? Let's say I want to access it. Anybody aware? Hello?
No, Subrat.
Would you like somebody likes to try? How can we access the elements of a set?
I think you can write for loop for I in IDs.
Okay. Let's say I want to access the individual one just single element.
I think square brackets might work.
Square bracket. We saw, right? It is not. Give me just 1 minute, guys. Someone, just 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Any idea? Yeah, that's true. We cannot access individual element the way access other collections, right? If we want, maybe we can do a loop and then access it. By indexing, it is not possible. And similar way, we cannot change it, right? When you cannot access it, you cannot change the individual element over here, right? So set is mostly when you want to have a static collection of distinct element. That is the case, you should go for a set. Okay. Now let's come to some core programming stuff in Python. The first one is conditional. Okay, before that, in Python, let's say you want to give user a prompt that enter an element and you want to take that prompt. So for example, you might have seen, right? So enter your name. Sometimes you want to enter a form or you got a console and sees that enter your name, enter your age and all that. So if I want to give a similar prompt in Python, the function name is called input. So if I just see input, enter your name, right? So it will give a prompt, enter your name. Let's say give Visualpath. Now, if you want to hold this one, you can assign it to a variable name. You can assign it in a variable, and if you want, you can print it. Or let's say I want to print with some message. Okay. So let me just apply some formatting to it. Hello. Format. Okay. If I run it, enter your name. Let me take any of your name, Sandeep. Hello, Sandeep. Well, that's why a prompt basically works in Python. So a conditional statement is, let's say for a given situation, based on the input, you want to tweak the program. A very simple example is, let's say we want to check the eligibility of a person, whether he or she is eligible to vote or not. And for that, the input is what? Age, right? If somebody enters their age and let's say this is that if your age is greater than 18, then you should be able to vote. But if your age greater than equal to, if your age is less than 18, then you are not eligible to vote. Okay. So those kinds of stuff we can achieve using conditional statement in Python, and where it is achieved through if, else, elif. But before getting into that, there is something called conditional operator. Conditional operator are those operator which returns a Boolean value, true or false, right? So what are the conditional operators? For example, I have to check if my 10 is equals to 20, right? Is it true or false? This is false, right? This is not correct. Now, for example, somebody enters their age 1 is equal to 10. Somebody enters their age 2 is equal to also 10. I want to see that if they are of same age or not. So in this case, my age 1 equals to age 2. This is a conditional operator to check equality. Okay. Conditional operator to check equality, right? So here I can check that this is true. If there is a different age, it will give me false. Now let's say I want to check if the person 1 is elder than person 2. What should be the conditional operator for me? Greater than, right? Age 1 greater than age 2. What should be the output of age 1 greater than age 2? It should be false, right? Because they are same, right? Similarly, if we want to check whether they are greater than or equal to, then this is what it is. Okay. Similar thing, if you want to check if age 2 is less than age 1, so this is my less than operator. I believe most of you are already aware of it because this is very fundamental stuff which you have covered in during your BTech, but just a refresher of it. Age 2 is less than age 1, which is false because both are same. But if I just replace with equal, okay, can someone tell me, let me type age is equal to 20, I'm doing age equals to 20 and age equals to 20. What what is the difference between these two statements?
First one is you're assigning a value 20 to age.
Correct. And this is a conditional. This is checking whether they are equal or not. Here we are assigning a value to a variable. Here we are checking whether these two values are same or not. So that's where is equals to is an assignment operator, double equals to is a conditional operator, right? So how to use it in a conditional statement? So the syntax goes like this. If, then one your condition. If the condition does not satisfy, then what if the condition does not satisfy? You give an elif, okay? And finally, once all the conditions are covered, you should go for an else, okay? So, for example, here, if my age is greater than equal to 80, I'm able to vote. If it is less than this, I'm not able to vote. Let me pick someone and simply ask. Okay, Harika, can you tell me if I want to write a statement, does this you are eligible to vote? How can I do it? A very simple question I'm asking. I just want to write that you are eligible to vote. How can we do it? Harika, are you there? If you're speaking, you are on mute.
Yes, yes. We can write if else statement.
No, no, if else is next. I just want to write a simple statement. You are eligible to vote. Forget about if else. A very simple statement. I'm asking a very fundamental question. I mean, I just want to print a message here that you are eligible to vote.
Okay.
It's a
Age
print
equal
statement,
to,
right?
yeah, print. Yes.
It's a print statement, right? You are eligible to vote. That's it. Nothing about it. Okay. Now I will write the statement only if there is a condition matches. And what is the condition? That if the age is greater than equal to 80. So for that, my first thing is I will ask for your age. So age input, enter your age, right? I'll ask for your age. That age I will take if age is greater than equal to 18. So for any block of statement, be it a conditional or loop, in order to tell the program, you have to give a colon to it so that it tells that the next statement which has been executed is part of this block. And how Python indicates that? By giving an indentation. See, it did not start from below if, it start with a tab, right? So for example, if I'm not given this one, I can start it from here. But when I'm giving a colon to it, Python give me an indentation saying that whatever you are writing is part of this conditional statement. This will only execute it when this part is true, right? That's where a code block comes into picture. So I'll write print you are eligible to vote. Okay. Next, whatever be the other condition, irrespective of what age you are, if you are not greater than equal to 18, I'll just give it else. And else is a separate block. So I just have to move one indentation back. If else, print you are not eligible to vote. Okay. That's how it is, as simple as. So for example, I run it. It will ask me for a prompt. Let's say I enter 20. What is the issue here? Input basically returns a string, right? And what we are doing here, age is treated. So if I just show you the type of age, the string. So a string cannot be compared with an integer. This is an integer, right? This is a numeric value. A string cannot be compared with an integer. So that's why it threw an exception. How can I resolve this issue? This is a string. We are expecting it in form of an integer. How to do it? Yesterday we are seeing something, right?
Typecasting.
Yes. How can I do a typecasting? While reading it, if I convert it to integer, see if it works or not. You are eligible to vote. It checks that once we give integer to it, it converts the string into integer. Initially it was string, right? Now we convert it to integer and then, okay, you are not eligible. Okay, fine, fine. That's how it shows. Clear, everyone? Any doubt? Whoever was telling yesterday, I mean, whoever is not comfortable in language, program language or not, or the first time, are they comfortable with the syntax, the logic that we did?
Yes, but yeah.
Let me know if you are not able to understand, right? We can go through it one more time, not a problem. But I hope everybody should be clear. Sam, are you clear on this? Okay, let's make a tweak to this exercise. Let's say, ask the person to enter their name and age. Okay, then same logic as above to determine eligibility to vote, and then print the statement like this. If they are eligible, statement should be congrats, name of the person, this, you are eligible to vote. They are not eligible, the message should be sorry, their name, you are not eligible to vote. Okay, you should try this at home. Anybody who wants to give a hint, how can we do it? It's just another variation of this program, nothing much. Logic is going to be the same. Only thing is we are printing a customized message. We are taking two inputs, right? Instead of asking one input, we are taking two inputs here and just customizing the message. We are just giving a name to it, right? Hope using string formatting and input, you'll be able to do it. Just try it out.
format we have to use there.
Yes, sorry.
Format function we have to use there.
Format function you have to use, and you have to use two
Just
input.
format. Yeah, string format.
Exactly.
Then there is the format function. You have to call the format function here, and we have to either you can declare the name and age in the variable, or simply you can ask user to input their name and age, which we store in the variable. And later on you
True.
can display the print function and with that format.
Correct. Fine. So just try it out. Try it out. Give it a try. Now let's say another exercise. Enter a number and check if the given number is positive integer or not. Also check if it is divisible by 2 and 3. If all conditions satisfy, print that it is a positive number and divisible by 2 and 3. If any of the condition fail, tell that it is not a valid number. So for example, I entered 6. Okay. So what I have to check if it is a positive number or not. 6 greater than 0? True. Okay. Next, 6 is divisible by 2 and 3. That's also true. Okay. Then I will print that it is a valid number. Any of the above condition fails, right? If any of the above condition fails, we will print it as invalid number. So let me post this question in chat and just allowing you 2 minutes. Try it out. Okay, see on are you aware of AND and OR? AND and OR? You must have studied this one in Boolean gate, right? The logic gates and all.
Yeah, we are aware of it.
So here, if you see, there are multiple conditions, right? First of all, I have to check if it is a positive, right? Also, I have to check if it is divisible by 2. Also, it should be divisible by 3. Correct. So there are three conditions basically. And if all the three conditions satisfy, then only we are telling it as a valid number. If any of them does not, we are telling it as a invalid number. So if I just take a number for that matter, if you take a number for that, so one thing, let's say you want to push any command above or below. So this is what it is. You can do move up, move up, and you can move a cell. Okay. So let's say there are two conditions, right? I will assign my value to a variable. Let's say number is my variable to which I will assign my value, whatever value I'm entering. So I have condition what? The number should be greater than 0. This is one condition. Now number is divisible by 2. How to write it programmatically? Number is divisible by 2. Okay, I will pick name and I will ask. Anil, can you unmute yourself and tell me how to check if a number is divisible by 2?
Remainder is equal to 0.
Yeah, and what is the operator to check remainder?
Remainder we mod of,
Modular division. Yes, exactly.
yeah, modular.
Correct. So when a number you divide by 2 and the number when any number when it is divisible by specific number, how it is? The remainder should be 0, like plain mathematics, nothing extra about it. So if I'm taking a number, let's say 6, and want to check what is the remainder if I divide it by 2, then you have to check modular division 2, right? 0. I want to check the quotient, what it is. It should be plain division. It will give you the quotient. That's what, it's plain mathematics, nothing fancy about it. So number is divisible by 2. How to do? Number modular division 2. And what it should be? It should be 0. So 0 means we are checking the condition, right? Conditional operator to check if some two values are equal. How to do that? Double equals to sign. Double equals to 0, right? Similarly, I have to check number is divisible by 3. So let me pick someone. Partha, what should be the condition here? Partha, are you from a programming background? Or this is something we are familiar with? Because I want to pick someone who is not from a programming background and want to give the answer. Is there anyone who is not exactly very familiar with the programming background and wants to try it? Okay, Sam, are you there? Sam, if you're there, you are on mute. You have to unmute yourself and try this one. Okay, guys, you should participate, or else how do I know if you are understanding or not? So it's simple thing, right? Num modular same, if it is divisible by 3, modular division 2 equals to 0. Otherwise, modular division 3 equals to 0. That's what it is, right? So there are 3 conditions that if they are matching, so it is now, then we can say that it is a valid number. So what are the condition? One condition is num greater than 0. Another condition is num modular division 2 equals to 0. Another condition is num modular division 3 equals to 0, right? And all of them should be true. So when you want, all of them to be true, then the good practice is put everything into parenthesis. To give and. Okay. What if my condition is if any of them is true, either this or this or this, if any of them is true, I want to, I know, tag it as a valid number. What should be the operator here? And is when you want all of them to be true. If any of them to be true,
Or operator.
or operator, right? So as the syntax says, what is the syntax? The syntax is if condition, right? So this is my condition. Okay. This is my condition. I do not have an intermediate condition, either this or this. So elif is not needed. When you have more than one condition, then you go for elif. Otherwise, if else is suffice for you. So this here I will do number is a valid number, is a valid number. Here you go for format num else is not a valid number. And before that, I need to read the number from the user input, right? So what I will do, I read the number, input, enter a number. As we know, input returns a string, so I have to cast it to an integer, then it is. Check how it is working. Enter 5. 5 is not a valid number because even if it is greater than 0, it is not divisible by 2 and 3, right? Let me enter 6. 6 is a valid number. Clear, everyone?
If we don't put zero there, zero index, will be there any impact to
No, I don't think so.
the curly braces? Yeah. You
Uh,
remove that
what
zero.
happened is, let's say you have multiple one and you want to signify that precedence of it. In that case, the index comes into picture.
But that in a format, whatever argument you put over there, that will process the sequence. No?
See, what
If
happened
you
is, for example, let's say I want, you are saying that this will read accordingly this, right? That's what you are asking.
right.
Yeah.
If you put the string there, num dot num1, then in the
Uh-huh.
first curly braces go num, in second curly braces go num1, like that. It will run.
Yes, exactly. So if I put num1, num2, let's say, okay, and I
Yes.
put here two integer, right?
Yeah.
And instead of this, let's say I put like 1 and 0, right? So
Yeah.
this is my zeroth index. This will go here and this will go here,
Right.
right?
That's
That's
it.
what. So mostly when you are putting multiple and you want to, induct the order of it, then you should put a number. So that's why it is advisable to follow this practice even if you have a single parameter, because this is something is applicable for each and every scenario.
Yeah.
Did you understand what he asked? As you
Yes.
have to speak up. Yeah, good. Okay, let's try. So far what we saw is if else, but what if we have more than one condition? Okay, so a scenario where we can use else if or elif, right? So here it is like check whether a candidate failed or passed with distinction. Thing is, we'll take the input score. We'll check if the score is less than equal to 50, the candidate failed. If the score is greater than 50 and score is less than equal to 80, the candidate passed. If the score is greater than 80, the candidate passed with distinction. That's what the condition is, right? So how to do it? Let me pick a name and somebody has to detect me. Nawaz, can you unmute yourself and try answering this question? Nawaz, are you
Sorry,
there?
what? Sorry, what was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So we need to ask a candidate his score. He has to enter his score. If the score is less than equal to 50, we have to print a message that the candidate failed. If the score is greater than 50 and less than equal to 80, the message should be the candidate passed. Otherwise, which means the score is greater than 80, the message should be the candidate passed with distinction. So can we try this program? I want you to tell me the steps. First thing is we need to read the score, right? How to read the score? How to get the prompt
From the input,
input? Exactly. So score, I
input
have to
and
say,
save it in a variable.
yes, exactly. Input, enter your score, right? And as we know, input returns string, we have to cast it to an integer. Next, I need to check if the score is less than equal to 50 and have to print a message if it is failed. How to do it?
Yeah, same as and
Tell me the syntax.
if score less than or equal to 50,
If
or if
score
score less than or equal to 50.
less than equal to 50, then have to give a colon because it will start this block.
Yeah,
What is the print message? Candidate failed, right?
yep.
Next, if the score is greater than 50 and less than equal to 80,
Else if.
Else if. Should I write it here?
No, the one step
Yes,
back.
exactly. Else if
Score greater than 50 and less than and score less than or equal to 80.
I think did not. Okay, okay, fine. Elif score is greater than 50 and score is less than equal to 80. Messages candidate passed. Rest other condition print candidate passed with distinction. Okay, so let me run this. I enter a message 55 and I get candidate passed, right? Now, what if somebody enters a negative number? This message will tell what? If I enter a negative number here, let's say I enter -80, candidate failed, because this part takes care of it. Negative is not a valid score, right? So I want you to just do some tweaking to this program. First thing, ask the candidate to enter their name and score. If they enter a negative number, tell them that this is an invalid score. And if they enter a positive number, then execute this logic. Okay. So ask the candidate to enter the name and score. For invalid score, which is negative number, tell them that this is not a valid number. And for positive, execute this one. Try this as a homework. Clear, everyone? Next part is for loop. So why for loop comes into picture? Let's say I have age. Let's say we have names. Okay, and we have names like Krish. Okay, let's say Nawaz. Let's say Kranti, Suresh, Sandeep. Okay, so from this list I was given a list of names, and I had a requirement that if the name is of 5 character, then choose them for the then just print their name. If the name is not 5 character, do not print their name. So usually, I mean, are we going to check each and every individual name? Let's say Krish, check the length of Krish. If it is 5 characters, do it. Then go for Nawaz. Then in that case, what if your list contains hundred or thousands of names? You are not going to do it hundred or thousand times, right? So you need a mechanism where you can go through each and every individual element by writing 1 line or 2 line of code and then check them. That's where your looping comes into picture. So in looping, what happened is, given a list or what we called as an iterable, every collection is an iterable. Iterable means something which can iterates, right? A list you can loop through. So that is an iterable. So given a list, you want to go through each and every individual element, okay, and check what is it. So the condition or the syntax for it is for. There's a for loop. There are two loops. There are two way to achieve this. One is called for and one is called while. Okay, for let's say name. You have to assign one variable. Okay, in names. What does that mean? That means this will loop for each and every individual value exists inside this, and whatever value it got, it assign it to the variable name. Okay, so to check it, if I just print name, let's see. counter here, and with every loop I just increasing the counter plus. I'll explain what I'm trying to do. I had 5 elements, right? So here the loop continues 5 times. I don't have to write 5 distinct individual print statement. The loop continues 5 times, and for that I just assign a counter to show you that the loops comes 5 times. So first time it picks Krish, print it. Second time it again goes check for Nawaz, print it. Next is go for Kranti, print it. Suresh, print it. Sandeep prints it. And when it realizes it reaches the end of that particular one, it stops there. Did not proceed further, right? That's how your loop works. For example, I had to print, let's take a very simple example. I have to print, let's say 1 to 10. How can we do it? Let me ping someone. Sushma, can you unmute yourself and try this one?
Yes.
Yeah. I have to print 1 to 10 using a for loop. How to do it?
Okay, let's try with the same with the counter. Will that work?
Okay, tell me what should be your logic. Counter. Okay, counter. Then okay,
Counter.
in this logic what we learn, we need a list, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So here, how can I create a list taking 1 to 10? There are two ways. Either you can write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There is another way that we discussed yesterday. What is it? Who can tell? Range, right? Range, we can define a sequence. I can the starting point. I'll start with 1. I'll stop once I achieve 11. Right? So this also print me the same thing. Telling me a range, so you have to convert it to a list. Make printable or iterable. Ah, okay, sorry, we don't need it. It's fine. Will anyways give me 1 to 10. Right? Now this will also give me 1 to 10. So instead of writing the value, can I write like this? For I in list another. Can I do it? Same logic I'm applying here. So we need a list, right? So we take a range, a list or an iterable, anything that can be iterable, anything that can be looped through. That is called iterable. Mostly the collections are iterable, right? List another, and then I just need to print it, right? Print I. Fine.
Okay.
Clear? Okay. Let's do like this. For example, yeah.
Instead of putting
Someone was
that
asking.
right and again storing into variable directly you can use no for I in range 1 to 11 then
Exactly,
you can
exactly. Yes, yes,
that
yes,
means
yes,
that putting in a variable
yes,
directly
yes.
you can
Instead
use
of putting it in a variable, you can directly use it.
yes yes
That's what you are expecting, right? Yes, we can do it. Not a problem. Okay. Next thing, let's say I want to print all even numbers between 1 to 100. How to do it? print all even number between 1 to 100. If I have just to loop for 1 to 100, how should we do it? If I just have to print all the numbers between 1 to 100. So for a variable in a list that contains 1 to 100, and for that, what is it? Range 1 to 101. Clear? Now I have to check if it is an even or not. So, Trinath, can you tell me how can I check if the number is even or not? I think Trinath is not there. Venkatesh, how can I check if a number is even or not? If the number is divisible by 2, right? So
Yes, it's divisible
check the,
by itself, and
so the divisibility is modular division 2 equals to 0. If it is even, then print I, else we are not going to print it. This program will print me all even numbers between 1 to 100, right? Clear? Okay, something similar can be achieved using a while loop also. Okay, in a while loop also you can do it, but while loop works in a little different way. In while loop, we have to give a stopping condition first when it should stop. So for example, I define this guy list, uh, let's say range 1 to 101. I need to print the value while. So how to do it? What should I give? There must be a stopping condition where it stops. So for that, you need to have a start condition. Let me define a counter here. Okay. And I will stop when my counter reaches the length of this list, right? When I reaches the length of the list, that is where I'm stopping. Okay? And here I have to pick the individual element. What is my element? List of that particular counter, right? And I have to check if this guy is even or not. If element modular division 2 equals to 0, else print element, leave it, right? In for loop, we mentioned for loop takes care of identifying where to stop, but in while loop, basically we have to give a stopping condition, otherwise while loop doesn't work. Where basically while loops comes into picture is when you want to go for an infinite loop. Let's say you want a continuous input, you want somebody to print something unless they print an invalid one and then exit, right? It should be continuous sequence. Those are the cases where while loops comes into picture. So let's first just see this one. Can you tell me why it is running? It is not printing anything. I did something wrong here.
Look like you didn't do counter plus plus or something.
Exactly. I did not give a stopping condition. The counter is still 0, right? That's why it is not stopping. So I have to increase the counter. Counter plus equals to 1.
Oh, it's this increment, right?
Yes, it's an incremental operator. Now it will work. So loop has to have a stopping condition. The counter was never incremented, right? So it was going for an infinite loop, correct? So you have to make sure that whatever stopping condition you are giving, it is working fine. Otherwise, the loop will never end. There is another way for this one is something we call while true. While
So here counter equal to 0 you give it, right? I did not understand. Can you repeat once again? That counter equal to 0?
okay. So the condition was what? The condition is when we reach the end of the list, we need to stop our loop, right? That is what expected.
Yeah.
So now I need to start from where a particular list start from 0 index, right?
Oh, okay.
That's why I start with the 0th index. And what point I will go? I'll go till I reach the length of the list.
Okay.
That is what my end point was. That's where I was giving counter less than equal to length of the list. And that's why I start with the 0th index.
Okay. Got it.
Clear?
Yeah.
I was talking about a infinite loop, right? So when you say while true, it executes forever. Let's say I just while true, I give a name, okay, input, enter your name, okay, and I just write a statement, print hello, will execute forever. Name, let's say I give my name, hello Supra. Okay, it continuously asks your name. Let's say I give Kranti, hello Kranti. I give Sushma. Okay, it continues. There is no stopping condition for it, right? I have to cancel it manually. So let's say I want to exit from it. Okay, I want to, let's say somebody does not provide a name, I have to exit. Okay, so how to do that? I have to check if the name is empty or not. Okay, and if the name is empty, I will exit from this one. So let's say I check if name is empty. Okay, then break. Break is where you can exit from a particular loop. Okay, else print it. Let's see if it works or not. What mistake I did here? Who can tell what mistake I did here?
Equal to operator.
Yes, we should do an equal to operator as an assignment operator, right? So let's see, I give Harika. Welcome Harika. I'm not entering anything. It exit, right? Because I did not enter anything, it exit. So that's how you can exit from an infinite loop. So taking this, you try this one. Okay. These three exercises, you take an input number. Take an input number. Okay. If it is a positive integer, add it to a variable. So let's say you define something called sum or total and a variable called total. Add the positive integer total at the unless a non-positive integer is entered. So let's say somebody enters a negative number, then exit. Okay. Somebody enters 0, then you continue. Do not do anything. Do not add it. Okay. Just continue the loop. Somebody adds a positive number, add it to the total. And finally, when you come out of the loop, print the value total. So it is like this. Ask someone to enter a number. Let's say you define a total at the beginning and assign it to 0. Let's say somebody enters 1. So your totals become 0 plus 1, which is 1. Somebody enters, let's say 10. Your total becomes 1 plus 10, which is 11. Somebody enters 0. Don't do anything. When 0, don't do anything. Somebody enters minus 1. Then you come out of the loop and print 11. What is the total value? Right? That is what expected. Only thing that we have not learned in order to do this is continue statement. So what I want is just do some Google that while how to use continue in while loop and apply this and do this homework. Okay, I hope you can do that, right? Should not be a big task. Then there are some basics. So get the sum of all numbers which is greater than 100. So here is a list. You have to find the sum of all numbers in this list which is greater than 100, right? Do it using both for loop and while loop. Next thing, print all numbers which are divisible by both 2 and 3 in between 1 and 100. This is something we have done, right? So again, this exercise 1, exercise 2, you have to do it both for and while for and while loop. This you could try it in a while loop. Clear? These are 3 exercises for you. Let's move to user-defined function. Any doubt, any questions so far? Okay, I take it as no. So user-defined function is we are doing lot of, so yesterday we are trying something, right? This yeah, this is one, right? We are expecting few names, right? The course and the institute, and then you are typing a message, right? So okay, so we were taking these values and typing the message, and next time if I have to change the name, I have to go and change in the variable, right? So instead of doing it, if I can create a reusable component, right? A component that I can use multiple times, I just need to pass the values to it and it will give me the result as expected, right? In those kinds of situation, a user defined function comes into picture. If this use case was little difficult to understand like this. For example, I want to define an add, for example, in your calculator, add will take two number, okay, number one, number two, and it should return the addition of these two numbers. That's what I'm expecting. So these kinds of situations are done by writing a user defined function. Function has basically three properties. First, function has three Python. First, it has a name, okay, it's compulsory. Next, it has input parameters. You might pass, you might not pass, that's optional, okay. And then that's a return type. Here also it's optional. So what does all this mean, right? For example, I want to define an add function, okay. The syntax of defining a function is start with def, okay, then your function name, find the list of input parameters, okay. As it is a block, you have to start with a colon, write your logic here, logic goes here. And if you want to return anything to the outside world, somebody wants to catch the result, return something. If you do not want to return, you are free to do that. As I said, this is an optional parameter. If I apply this syntax to this above problem, how do I do it? I write def, it is the first function name. Let's take add. I want to pass two parameters. So my two parameters are number one, number two. I have to write some logic here. I have to define a result, which is nothing but number one plus number two. That result I need to return the outside world. Somebody who wants to, who is calling this one should be able to get this one. Now, how does this work? Let's say I define my number one as 10. I define my number two as 20, and I want to hold the result by calling this function add and passing this parameter number one, number two. If you want to read what is that I read, you can read it here. Num1 equals to 0 and num2 equals to 1, where I'm just trying to show you what are the parameters that we are passing. That's how it is. Let's define this function and now let's call it. I want to print what result we expect here. So by calling this function, I pass 10 and 20, right? Sorry, 10 and 10. So it shows me that these are the two parameters which is passed. Result, it is captured, whatever logic you write, and then I return the result to it, right? What if I do not return anything? What if I do not return anything? And just do it over here. Oh, sorry, I did not execute. Okay, none. Because this function is not returning anything. The result is expecting, this variable is expecting what this guy is returning to me. But here I'm not returning anything. So it is telling none, right? So when your program is not returning anything, it will return by default none. None means nothing. Okay, it's an object, it's a class in Python. Okay. Now, if you want to return anything to the outside world, you have to mention it by a result. Sorry, return statement. Okay. Clear everyone? How to define function and all that?
So, where we use this function?
Okay. So anywhere where you want to do an add, for example, you have a requirement that people will start adding, for example, let's say I have a list of numbers, and this list is nothing but a list of tuple. So I'm passing 10, 20, 20, 30, 14, 15. These are the list. And for every item, I need an addition result, right? So I don't have to do it. I don't have to go each and every individual item and do the addition, right? I just do a loop, go through this individual tuple and just pass it to the addition value. So the thing is, whenever you think that some logic is going to be repeated, instead of writing it multiple times, create a function and use it whenever you want. So to add all these elements, I don't have to write the addition logic every time, right? I can just call them, I just call this add function, pass these two value and achieve it. So whenever you feel like there is a code which can be reusable, you write it in a function. Let me give you an example. For example, you are reading some data from a source and there are certain validation that you are doing, that the let's say you are reading some file. So what you are doing is you are checking whether the file has certain input. The file should not be empty. The date, the file should be created in this month, the month where you are processing, and the file should have at least 100 records to process. This is the logic that you want to do for each and every file that you are processing, right? So for that, let's say I am accessing to a folder which has 100 files. And for every file, if I'm going to write it, then it is a lot of manual effort that I'm doing, right? Instead of that, if I define a function, let's say def is valid file, what it will do, what will take? It takes a file path, okay? And then I my logic for file validation. And if it is true, if all the validation satisfy, you return true, okay? If the validation does not satisfy, you return false, right? So in that case, you just have to read the file path, call this file, and just pass the path to this particular function, right? And based upon what it returns, you can define whether it is a valid file to proceed further or not. Instead of writing this logic for all the files inside your folder, you define it once and just reusing it. So that's where a function comes into picture, a user defined comes into picture. So whenever there is a component which can be reused in multiple times, write it in a function, write it in a code block called function and use it multiple times. Use it whenever you want. That's where a function real use case scenario comes into picture. Clear?
Yes, thank you.
Subrat,
Okay.
where is this definition getting stored?
Yeah.
Definition of
So,
the
uh so Python, Python stores. So whenever you are running it, so for example, if I'm losing my cluster, so whenever you run it, right, Python stores this definition in its memory, in the system memory, and whenever you call it, Python reference it in wherever the memory it stores it. eventually to a pointer, and then access it based upon what parameter or what return type you pass. In contrast to a program in Java or .NET or C Sharp, where usually everything is corresponding to an object, and your object gets a memory in the heap, right? And objects get a memory in the heap, and all those are stored inside that heap memory. Those concepts are usually not present in Python. You can directly write a function and access it, right? Those heap and stack memory concepts usually I have not seen much used in case of a Python scenario. But if the same thing we write in a Java scenario, so you would have created a class. The class would have allocated some memory in the heap, and in the heap memory, this function definition would have been stored. But here, wherever your program is running, right, the system memory or the RAM, that's where the definition is stored.
We need to, if we just need to create a function once and call it in multiple places, so every time we need to define this.
Not exactly. Okay. So for example, you write the function in one particular class. Let's say you create a class called, let's say you create a notebook, this Python fundamental or something like this. I want to use this isValid function in a separate class. So let me let me create a notebook here. I write it here. Let's say I want to access whatever you write here. Okay. Let's say this add function I want to access. So in case of Python, in the usual Python class, there is something called import utility. If you want to use a particular class or package which is defined either in your project or defined in Python, using import you can do it, right? So you can import this particular class, this Python fundamental. Let's say you define it as in a class, import Python fundamentals. And then you will be able to access the add function. But here, in case of a notebook, these are not those classes, right? So if you want to do it, if you want to access the add function which are defined in the other notebook, in another notebook, you have to write percentage run if the notebook path is SQL. Percentage run. What is the syntax of it? Am I missing something? Let's say I call print add 10, 20, which I define there. Did it stops? Okay, it did not finish successfully because we have write some other code, something might have failed there. Let me create a simple program for utility. Let me type it as utility. Okay.
It's already 10 o'clock. can we resume this class tomorrow? Or...
Let me just quickly do this one, and then we can resume it.
Thank you.
So let me just write a class called utility. Okay. Here I define add two numbers. I take num1, and I return 1 plus num2. Okay. So I will refer this guy here. Oh, sorry.
Function name is different.
Right.
Just
So you can define your utility class somewhere, write it, and refer it in wherever you want.
okay. So for any reusable component, we need to keep it in a separate notebook.
It's better. It's better that you create a utility class, keep all the usable components there, and refer it in wherever you want.
Okay, so one notebook with all the UDFs.
It's always a good practice. Always a good practice, because that's the single point where you can go and check your program, right? Clear?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing, I mean, this is not very important, but I just keep it because what happened is whenever you go and work on a real-time project, you might see some cases this Lambda functions being used. Okay. So just wanted to give you an idea about what Lambda function, and then we can close it. Just 5 more minutes. So for example, when we are writing add, right, and we are writing num1, num2, and I'm doing it return num1 plus num2, right? So instead of defining a name, giving everything, Python has an utility called Lambda, where you can define a function without a name, right? How it is it? Lambda, okay, no need to give anything, num1, comma num2, and just return what you want. These usually we use Lambda functions for cases which is taking a parameter and returning something, right? So you don't have to define anything, no need to define a function and all the stuff. Lambda will automatically understand that. So if I just add Lambda to it, in our course will not encounter anything, but there are projects where they use little bit of extensive Python. Not every projects, certain projects you might seen some references of Lambda. So that's why you should not sound unfamiliar when you see it. That is the reason I'm covering it. Otherwise, the Spark code and all that we'll use, we might not be seeing very frequent usage of this Lambda functions. So here, if I just pass value to this Lambda and 20, will give me the same result, right? I did not give a name or to the body. So Lambda is a function which does not have a name or a body per se, right? That's what we call this Lambda. Where exactly it is used? It is used for this map and filter Python function. Map is basically a function in Python. Let's see what it does. Basically what it does is it takes a function and takes an iterable. So let's say I have a list which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I want to create a list which is what? Every element is multiplied by 2, right? I want to do that one. So usually how shall we do it? either we define another list, let's say list new, okay. Then we loop through this individual list for I in list, and then in the list new, I append I into 2, print list new. I get multiplied by 2. Instead of doing this, I can have it in a lambda functions and apply the same thing. So what lambda take? Lambda take a function. Sorry, what map takes? Map takes a function. Either I can define a function which will return me into 2, or I can do it through the same lambda. What I need, every element that I'm passing should be multiplied by 2. So can somebody tell me what should be the signature of lambda here? Every element, my input is an element, and what is that I want to return? What is it I want to return? 2 times of that element, right? That's what it is doing. And map takes 2 input. One is a function. The function I define as lambda. Second one is an iterable. Iterable is this list. Right? And if you just want to print it, okay, that is for certain things, Databricks does not have this list cannot be called. So better we can use it using a Python environment. There are certain restrictions of using Databricks. So I just to show you. Python syntax is not behaving properly. Okay, I need to start one, do it another. List object. Okay, okay. I think I did the same mistake there. Somewhere I might have defined list. So somewhere I might have defined list. That's why it is not taking. Some variable you might have defined as list. That's why it is not taking. Otherwise, it will work. Right? I'm running it over here. You can see it. This is a map function. Map function is basically when you want to apply a certain logic to each and every individual element of a collection or a list, then instead of writing it through a for loop, you can do it through map. Map works for each and every individual function. Similarly, we have something called filter also. Let's say through this list, I want to extract only the even number. So let me take output even. So how this will work? What should be my lambda function here?
But I mod 2
Yeah.
equal to 0.
Uh, I modular division 2 equals to 0, right? And here this is map, and I'll pass my. It gives me true, false, true, false. How I can print only the even numbers? It did what? It just went through each and every individual element and then check which one is false, which one is true, right? What I need is I want to print only 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let me print this logic here. So the reason it is not working in a notebook is because this list is a class, right? And we might have defined some variable as list, which Databricks has taken. That is the reason it is not working. So you can do it in a clean notebook. Do not define any variable as list and then run it. It should work. Now here, if you see, the output even is printing, true, false for each and everything, right? I want the output should give me only the one which is even, which is like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, try it out. This is an homework from you. So just try it out how I can tweak my program so that it will print only the even values using the filter function. Okay. So I think we cover all the necessary fundamentals of Python. The next class that I am planning is for SQL. So before wrapping up, I just need some feedback from you. So is it like we are going too slow? And for SQL, the thing that I am planning to cover is the basic how to create database, how to create table, how to insert data into table, how to update, delete, drop table. All these min max functions. I want the join of a table and aggregate. How to write aggregate functions like proof and the wildcard selection like operator and all that. This is what I'm planning to cover as part of SQL. So do you guys think that we are little slow when it comes to Python? Should we be little faster? And whatever I'm planning to cover for SQL, is it what you need, or we can skip this one? I just need an honest feedback. If any of you think that it is needed, we'll cover it. And if you think it is slow, we should go a little fast, I can do that one.
Yeah, actually, we are first time we're coming to this Python. We are not at all, even we are learning ABCD. So that is fine.
Okay. So whatever we learned so far, are we clear?
Yeah, actually, this is the first time for me. It may take some time to once do the practice, make I understand. But today classes, most of the time, I did not understand clearly. But I will try to do it practice.
Okay. And if you face any problem, then ask in the next class. Okay.
Sure.
What about SQL? You want me to cover all these things in SQL, or there are certain only
Yes, please.
specific? Sorry.
Yes, bro. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
bro. Please cover it.
Sure. So we'll
Whatever
cover
you
these
show.
fundamentals in SQL tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
And once that is done, we'll move to Spark. So whatever exercises I have mentioned, please do it. Please give it a try. And if there is anything you're not able to do, we'll do it tomorrow.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, so look, I have one question. Like in a Databricks community edition I was using, and we need to
Hmm.
create cluster there, right? And if you
Hmm.
leave your cluster more than 2 hours, it is getting idle.
Correct.
Once I need to create new cluster, I can use the same activity.
Same cluster you cannot, because Databricks, see what happened is whenever you just write some command, right? Databricks on its backend assign you an available machine. And I don't think we can, in community edition, we cannot start an existing. Databricks does not give the option to
Because,
us to start an cluster.
right, because if
If I
I'm
want to,
using the server, I'm not able to work with that.
Databricks community edition does see what, how behind the scene, how it works is these are certain machines in the cloud, right? And whenever you request something, Databricks just assign you that machine, assign you a machine. It chooses a machine. Sorry.
Yeah, because we have to just go through the process, right? We have to select everything to create the cluster. Accordingly, I did that
Uh,
select one cluster. I mean, only one node, right? And there I was
correct.
working, and actually I went outside, and it shows no that cluster is inactive because it
Mm,
was idle for 2 hours,
mm,
120
correct.
minutes.
Correct.
Then I just did in the beginning, very beginning, I tried to select the same cluster that I had created, but it didn't work out. I need to
Community edition doesn't give you that. Yeah, community edition doesn't give you that scope to to start the
if
same
it
cluster.
is Azure, if it is the Azure, then it is possible to work with the same cluster, right?
It is possible to edge to the same cluster because you have access, specific access to that. Community edition, see what happened is whenever you have a cluster, your machine is running. Even if you are not paying for the processing part, you are paying for the storage part, whatever minimal or this one, right? So Databricks tries to minimize those costs. Correct.
And if
So
I create the
Databricks,
new cluster addition, if I create
uh,
the new cluster
uh,
again, then again I have to start my work from the beginning, right?
you have to start your work from the beginning. Yes, it will not. It will not. It is as good as if you are not storing any data, it is as good as a cluster is stopped and then you are starting it. See, the community edition is basically for learning purpose. Okay.
Yes.
Usually we'll go for a full-fledged, Databricks subscription when you go to your project, when you do real-time implementation, right? There you have storage, there you have the cluster, and usually the ideal time is 2 hours, right? But in a real-time scenario, the ideal time usually you mention is 10 minutes because you want to minimize the cost. Because if the
Right.
nobody is using the cluster, you're just keeping it as idle, then also you are paying a price for it to using a machine. So usually in a production environment or in an enterprise environment, when we use a cluster, we give an ideal time of 10 minutes. So 10 minutes, if it is idle, nobody is using it, make the cluster die. But again, in those cases, in those full-fledged subscription, you can start your cluster. The cluster is completely under your control. But in a community edition, that is not the case.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, but has to be.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, this is Anand. I have a couple
Hi,
of
Anand.
questions and doubts.
Mhm.
Okay, actually, I'm new to database, like a database or something Azure. I don't know the flow structure of the Azure data engineering entirely. Whether it's
You want
good
to
to
understand?
start with the Azure data fix. Yeah, I don't know the complete structure, like how what happens, like
So,
this
did you
it's a
attend yesterday
picture.
class?
I don't know.
Did you attend yesterday class?
I attended the extra class in the middle.
Okay, so
It's around 29.
in the beginning we discussed about the data engineering concept. So I will request you to go through the recordings. Now coming to data breaks, see in data engineering, if I just explain you in 1 minute. So data engineering is all about making the data, the raw data available in a usable format, right? So you have data, you want to apply some business logic on top of it and make it available in a way so that your business analyst, your machine learning data scientist engineer can use it, right? So if you want to understand where data bricks comes into picture, do you know where Spark comes into picture on in a data engineering environment? Forget about cloud and everything. Are you aware about
No,
ETL or data engineering a little bit? You're completely not aware, right?
not aware.
So basically in data engineering, what we do is we have data available at a raw format at certain stage. We want to read the data. We want to process it using our business logic. and make it available so that the end user can use it as per their requirement. Who are the end user? There might be some business analyst who are sitting who wants to see a report across organization. For example, the let's take a famous e-commerce example. We want to see the data, how the customers are behaving, how my sales is over the last 6 months and all that. So you have to make your data available in those format. You have your sales available in a date wise format, in a month wise format. You have a customer data available. You have the customer and all the transactions available in a tabular format, so that they can join all these things and create a report out of it, right? But in your raw data, when the data is being produced, the data is not produced in this structured way, right? You have to write a business logic to read the raw data, process it, and make it available in a structural way so that it can be usable. So this is where a data engineer or a ETL things comes into picture. Okay. So there are three primary things. First one is storage or the file or the data, right? Where you are storing the data, what kind of data you are storing, and in which format you are storing. Correct? Then comes reading the data. When you are reading from the data, what is the logic to read the data? Once you read the data, what you are going to do with the data? Are you going to apply some logic to on the data? That's where your processing logic or transformation logics comes into picture. And usually we do that in Spark, right? Now, initially when Spark was there, it was, Spark is an open source platform, right? So how to do it? We have to install Spark on individual machine. We have to establish the cluster, because Spark is a cluster computing. What is cluster computing? What is distributed computing? We'll see in details, right? So you have to establish the cluster. You have to set all the configuration. You have to make sure that all the utilities are installed on your machines, and everything you have to take care of it. And then you have to write your code. And again, when you have to write your code, you have to package it, you have to deploy it in an environment so that it will run. So what Databricks does is Databricks takes all the burden from you. Databricks tells that all the cluster, provision, everything, we will take care of it. You just select from the menu whatever you want. Okay. The configuration, everything we will take care of. All the required, utilities will be installing, pre-installed in a cloud environment. You just have to come, provision a notebook, provision a cluster, and start writing your code. And the same notebook you can take from one environment to other. For example, a development environment to a production environment, you can take it. That's where Databricks offers. So Databricks is nothing but Spark on cloud with some optimization, some value addition to it. Spark is an open source. You don't have to pay anything, but Databricks is a paid one. You have to pay. So thing is that whenever you are using Databricks, you need to aware that how to use Databricks optimally so that my cost is minimum. That's what Databricks comes into picture, right? You might be asking where Azure coming into picture, right? Now Databricks is available in all the clouds, Azure, AWS, and GCP. Now, apart from writing the data, as I was telling, right, you have to store the data somewhere. So Azure provide you multiple storage options to store the data. So there, whenever we are writing, right, I'm reading the data, I'm processing something, I'm storing something. It must be a periodical process. The data processing should happen either on a daily basis or a monthly basis or a weekly basis. There must be a schedule. There must be some orchestrator or somebody who is executing this job on the schedule time. That's where your data factory comes into picture, right? You must be reading data from some source to take some destination. In between, you are doing some data massaging. So there must be a pipeline that you do, right? That's where data factory comes into picture. Clear? So that's where little bit about what Azure data engineering is all about.
Okay, I
Did you
can
get?
like Azure Synopsys Analytics and some
Okay.
Azure SQL database.
Are
What
you
are
aware
those things
about
and
data
where
warehouse? Yeah. Are you aware of data warehouse, SQL
data?
data warehouse?
Yes, I know that data warehouse is it's a big multiple database can be stored like it's a large database. I know that
Correct,
simple.
right? So it is a huge data store. That's where data warehouse comes into picture, right? So your SQL data warehouse on Azure is what we call Synapse dedicated SQL pool. If I'm talking about simple Synapse, Synapse is what? Synapse is about Synapse has end-to-end features. Synapse, if you go and just check Synapse Analytics in Azure, right? It has your orchestrator tool, it has notebook, everything. But what we usually do is Synapse dedicated SQL pool, which is a dedicated server for your SQL job or your data warehousing job. So what happened? You need to store the data in a warehouse, right? In a structural format, in a tabular format, where the fact data, the dimensional data, the transactional data are stored. And then you can create a report on top of it. You can connect it to a Power BI, or connect it to an SSIS cube, read the data, do the modeling on top of it, right? So that data warehouse part is solved by Synapse dedicated SQL.
So does we are covering this also here, like Azure
Yes.
Synopsys and Azure SQL.
SQL data warehouse or Synapse dedicated SQL pool. Those are the same thing. Synapse dedicated SQL pool is your was Azure SQL data warehouse.
Okay. So this is the first
You
class.
This is the second class. We are studying only
Right.
Python.
That
So
means
we have got
just I have
Python.
like yesterday I joined the class and it's been started on Python. So I'm not aware whether we can directly start the learning data directly on Databricks. So that was my confusion. Now it's clear.
Yeah. So my idea was usually Databricks is not for Python coding, right? Databricks is a Spark environment. So ideally you should learn Spark. But my idea is that as people are new to this programming, there are certain people, not everyone, but there are few people who are new to the programming world, right? So why not do the programming in a Databricks itself? Why not get a familiarity with the Databricks in the very first class? I can use an environment like Visual Code or a PyCharm to learn Python, but as going forward will be use Databricks, then let's do it in Databricks. That's what my idea was.
Sir,
Eventually
I
you
have
not.
one doubt here.
Uh-huh.
Sir, I have one
Yes, yes.
doubt here. As you said, in a
Uh-huh.
Synapse, use dedicated SQL pool as a data warehouse where you are
Uh-huh.
using a structured data, right? But
Uh-huh.
when we are working, right, we are getting a structure, semi-structure, and unstructured data. So, do
Uh-huh.
you there is any other place where we store our unstructured data?
Data lake.
We are
That's where your data lake comes into picture.
okay. It
When you
means
are
that we are
talking
using both
about
data lake and dedicated SQL, both we need to use.
dedicated SQL pool or data warehouse is mostly about your structured data, right? In your unstructured data, text data, you will hardly see any use cases of a data warehouse. Mostly their data lakes comes into picture. You have to read the data from a data lake.
Okay, okay. It means that two places we use, right? In a data warehouse.
When you say two place, what are those two place?
It just says one for a structured, one for unstructured.
Uh, See, that's what I'm saying, right? When we are talking about data warehouse, a traditional data warehouse means mostly we are referring to the structured data.
Okay,
In data warehouse or a mart, we have hardly any scope for storing the unstructured data, be it text or image, all that. I mean, we can do it using a path or something, but that's not a feasible way. Rather, use a data lake. Data lake is different, right? Data lake, you can store whatever data you want, and you need to have a data lake and access to any programming interface for that matter. You can read it and do whatever you want in that case.
so data
But
lake,
data warehouse,
can we use data lake as data warehouse then?
can we use data lake as data warehouse? They are two different things. I don't think we should mix them. Data lake is something different, data warehouse is something different. Let's not mix them. Using data lake as data warehouse, if you see the today business use cases, you will find them hardly relatable. When people use data warehouse, right, what they want is your data is available in a structural format. For example, let's say Flipkart, right? They want their customer data in a table, their transactions in a table. I want to join these two and create a report, and I want to see how the data is behaving over the period of time through some chart or something, right? So here, mostly we are expecting the data coming in a structured way. When we are talking about data lake and processing them, your data warehouse doesn't fit into that scenario properly.
It means a structured data we can access from the SQL pool database, structured data,
Mhm.
and whenever you require unstructured data, for that we need to have access of
Data
data
lake.
lake, right?
Yes, I have not seen any unstructured data using in a data warehouse or SQL data pool. So
Yeah,
I'm not
definitely, you
aware
are
about
right. But
unstructured
but
data in a data warehouse. Your voice is little feeble. Can you please be little louder?
it is clear now. It is okay now.
Yes, it is clear now. Yes.
I has confusion because in database finally we are using our for OLAP purpose. OLAP
Hmm.
purpose we are using a data warehouse that is SQL pool data
Correct.
or SQL
Right.
related SQL warehouse. The here my just one thing was just running in mind where we are using or where we are storing finally our structure. Yeah,
Most
less of the
data lake.
but
That's what data lake, and
finally
that's why, right? They are moving from data warehouse to lake house architecture. Can you please unmute yourself? Sorry, can you please mute yourself? There's an echo happening. So nowadays, there is something called data warehouse to people moving from lake house architecture. Lake house architecture, where this delta lake in place, right? When delta lake comes into picture, it provides option to store both structured and unstructured data in a warehouse format. So from data warehouse, the future is going to be lake house, right? Where you can enjoy the feasibility of a traditional structured data warehouse format. At the same time, you can do all your unstructured data. That's how it is.
right.
Shobhit, I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I have a experience, 6 years experience. So I am trying to swap my complete technology.
Hmm.
So how much experience I need to put on the Azure Data Engineering if I want to switch? Like how much CTC can I expect? Or on what base experience? Like shall I know here or
Uh, those are quite tricky questions. I should not put any numbers on the board. See, what happened is, sorry, your good name,
Anil?
Anil. So let's say with a 6 years experience, let's say you want to show 2 to 3 years as a Azure data engineer. So first of all,
Okay.
you need to show on the interview board that this is the project I did. And whenever they ask you something, you should be able to explain them, right? And whenever they
Yes.
got a confidence that you are able to you can work as a data out of 6 years, you can show 2 to 3 years should be fine, right? From 2 to 3 years
Okay.
experience, they will not explain things in detail. So with 2 to 3 years, you should be able to do it once you have the very good understanding on the fundamentals and on the concepts. Next thing, coming
Okay.
to package, see what happened is uh, you know it all depends upon how the company is looking, because during the pandemic time, right, people are asking for any numbers and companies are ready to give it. But now companies have become a little conservative, right? So yes, if
No.
there is a requirement, they can go to 2.5 to 3x. That's pretty much possible. They can go beyond that also. But I think 2 to 2.5x to number of years of experience is what you can expect on an average,
Okay.
provided you are able to clear the interview with confidence. That's what it is.
Yes. Yes. I understood.
Okay, I will take it as a no. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. And Visual Path team, I will share the notebook. Please share the notebook along with the recordings with everyone. And I believe everyone has mentioned their mail IDs. So yeah, just get in touch with the team and get all the resources for yesterday as well as for today.
Yeah, I've shared my email with Visualpath and also to you, Subra.
Yeah, okay, sure. So
Thank
yeah, team, please take care of it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
you. Have a good day.
Thank you.